Hello, everybody. Happy May 27th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have the head coach for the Killingly football program, Chad Neal. Coach Neal, it's a pleasure to be able to have you on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
You know, I've really kind of admired because I broadcast in the NVL, so that's a little bit far away from Killingly, but I really always have kept an eye on the Killingly program, specifically the football side, and the way that you've been able to kind of build the program to basically now being a well-oiled machine. It's something I really admire.
Well, I appreciate that. It took some time and patience, and the kids bought into the principles and values that we have as a coaching staff. And once you have that, and a great group of kids and great group of parents and an administrative side, if the administration is supportive, good things can happen.
Now, before we get into your time with Killingly, just tell me about your coaching background. I know different coaches, every coach has a different journey and it's not a straight line. So tell me about your journey to Killingly.
Yeah, so I started at the beginning as a volunteer at Putnam High School um, back in 1996, and then I was fortunate to get hired a position the next year as the freshman coach. So I can remember those days being the only coach and coaching the freshman team of about 20 kids. And in those days, Putnam was in the Pequot division, so we'd be traveling, all over from Avon to Gilbert, down to Old Saybrook and so forth. So, it really got my feet wet there and in coaching, but also managing a team. And made my way up as a special teams coach at the varsity level, coached some offensive and defensive line. And then in 2000, became a defensive coordinator. And shortly after that, the head coach I worked for, Joe Humphrey, was an excellent coach. I learned a lot from, just a great guy and a great motivator. And, a lot of my style I took from him. I became a head coach at Putnam High School for a year. And in 2004, the Killingly job opened up, and it happened to coincide. There was budget cuts in the school I was working at, and my teaching job got cut. And the Killingly job opened for teaching and coaching. So it was the best move I made, and been there for 16 years now. And, as a head coach at 28 years old to, now 44 and still enjoying every day of it.
Now, Coach, you talked about your time with Putnam, and you said that you learned a lot and kind of prepared you to be the head coach at Killingly. And what were some of the things that you were able to learn along the way? Because it sounds like to me you kind of went through, like, just like in baseball where you go through A, double A, triple A,
Mhm.
and so on. You went through you were a freshman coach, special teams coach, defensive coordinator, head coach. You went through the necessary steps where you weren't rushed.
Well, I think you got to understand each part of a program. Um, the freshman level is so important as far as a skill level, teaching the kids the right technique, everything from how to put your pads on, how to present yourself, just the little things, how to line up the stretch, but just managing a group like that, a young team, and teaching those skills. But the most important thing is you want freshmen to come back as sophomores, and that's how you build the program. You don't want to bring in, let's say, 25 freshmen, and then you have 10 of them come back the sophomore year. So you want to teach, make it enjoyable for them, and make it a good transition for them. And you learn a lot of little things that way. And at the freshman level, there's not many people at the games. You are taking care of all the equipment, and those are things that have never left me. I feel if you're going to do something, you ask someone to do it, you should have done it too, or you should continue to do it. And I still continue to do that. I think that's important. That I'm not a top down type of leadership approach. I'm more of, I'm going to lead by example and lead with you guys, and just be the person who will answer the questions and go to. But I feel delegating and understand everybody's role, and I was able to be in those roles as an assistant coach, making my way up. So I think that's important.
It almost sounds like it's kind of like life lessons where it goes beyond the game of football, where you really have to appreciate, and you do appreciate the little things and
Mhm.
kind of doing things in a structured way.
Yeah, and I love coaching the freshman level. I mean, it was just football. There's not a lot of paperwork involved, forms, all all the other stuff you deal with as a head coach is just going out and coaching football and getting those kids ready. And that was fun. And I had an opportunity to be around a lot of great coaches, not just in football, but I would watch other coaches, whether it be basketball or baseball, just to see their styles, what works for them. And that's something I continue to do is study what works. And I don't think, you can allow complacency to set in as a coach and definitely not as a team.
Now, when you took the job at Killingly, what was the program like at that time? And what was your first impression during that first season?
Well, when I took over at Killenly, first of all, they were the Thanksgiving Day rival of Putnam. And I had lived in Putnam, and so making that move wasn't the easiest, most popular move at the time. So the transition was difficult. The program was around 500. It was a very proud program. I took over for legendary coach John Crott, who was there for a number of years, but he had came back. He coached in the early '80s, won a state championship, and then came back for a couple of years. And I took over for him. He was the athletic director, and we had a group of seniors that year. I was their third coach in their 4 seasons, so that was difficult for them, but they stuck with it. And then then it was kind of like a rebuild after that, because there was only 2 or 3 juniors in that class that were going to be seniors the following year. And it was my first class of freshmen. That's really where we started building the program.
And when you started to kind of put your own, fingerprints on the program, was there anything in particular that was easy for you? And what was the difficult part for you?
Well, I don't think there was much that was too easy.
Mm.
Anytime you come to a new program, and especially from another program that's a rival at the time, it takes a while to adjust for the kids and to believe in what you are trying to accomplish as a coach. So you had to prove yourself. You had to, if you're going to do something or you're going to say something, you're going to do it. And, you got to build that trust with those kids, especially those kids who I was their third coach in 4 years.
Mhm.
And, it wasn't going to happen overnight. And, it took some time to do that. And that's the difficult part. X's and O's in coaching is not the difficult part. It's getting kids to buy in into what you're trying to accomplish for them. And if you can get that, and the kids believe in you and you believe in them, and everybody kind of rallies around each other. And the other thing is you got to have principles as a program, and things you believe in, because everybody's got to be treated fairly. um,
Mhm.
and once the kids understood that, and understood that we were going to be there for them through thick and thin, that's when the special things happen.
How long did it take for the players, your first year, or even the second year, for them to kind of buy into what you were selling?
I honestly think it was about the third year in.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it took some time. We had a lot of staff turnover. Also, I had inherited some a very good staff, but some of them went different ways after that first year, and putting together a great assistant coaches. And it was really that freshman group, my first year, that
Mhm.
group of freshmen who really bought in. It was a big class, and they believed in what we were trying to accomplish, and they worked hard. And when they became sophomores, we went with them. They started varsity as sophomores, and we said, "Hey, we're going to build with these guys. They're going to be the base of this team."
Would you say that was the team that you could say kind of started what has been a fantastic run? You've been with the program for 16 full seasons. Would you say that is the class that kind of got everything going, kind of got the train moving forward?
Yeah, I would say so, in terms of the culture of the program and building what we had. We had some great kids like Kyle Thornton, Kyle Fillmore, Seth St. Jean. Those kids really stood up for me, stuck up as a team, and bought in. They did everything the coach could ask for, and that's what kind of got it rolling to a point. Not to the success we've had the last 5 years, but in
Mhm.
terms of what we were going to be as a program in and out of school.
Now, you mentioned how the last 5 years has really been kind of a big point for Killingly, where you guys have been, championships, consistent playoff appearances, and so on. I know that's something that you could never predict, but the community, you've been there for a long time, the players, you probably have
Mhm.
coached some brothers of a brother and so
Oh
on,
yeah.
cousins and whatnot. Did you feel like that maybe there was something where, since you've been there for so long, that you had a chance to have a sustained run like this?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of a lot of things. In 2010, we moved into a new high school, and it's a beautiful school, and our enrollment increased by about 130 students, and that drew some kids. We have a town near us, Brooklyn, who is um, can choose where they send their students, and at that point, a lot of them were going to either Woodstock Academy, NFA, and in some cases Griswold, and we were able to draw some of those kids back. Our youth program did a tremendous job. Kinley Brooklyn Midget Youth Football, they did a tremendous job, the coaches down there, and teaching what we do and running the offense and defense we do, at least using the terminology. So there's a lot of consistency there, and they really promoted playing for Kinley High School and moving into that new field. Along with that, those kids at the youth level
Mhm.
really took off, and so did our off-season training. Our weightlifting program. Um, Chad Caffrey, who is one of my assistant coaches, but he's a strength and conditioning coach, really got those kids committed in the off season. We've always had okay off seasons in the weight room, but he took it to another level.
It really sounds like to me that the community being able to put up enough to be able to get the new high school. You mentioned about how the youth program, which I've always believed is kind of like a minor league system for high schools and such, because
Mhm.
a lot of those kids are being taught certain systems to be able to prepare them for the high school level. And you mentioned in 2010, some things kind of happened at the right time, and it just looks like it coincides with what was a very sustainable run for you and the Killingly program.
Yeah, and that really, I think, had a lot to do with it. Was moving into that new high school, a new field,
Hmm.
and the kids really worked hard, and that foundation that was set by that group I talked about earlier, and then those guys following through, and we had been close. We had 6-4 seasons, stuff like that, but we hadn't made it over the hump until about 2015.
Now, Coach, I really want to dive into the program itself. First thing I want to talk about with you, and I'm sure you're going to laugh at this, RPO, the
Yeah,
run people over. And I read that on Game Time, and I started to laugh, not at you or the quote,
yeah,
but just because I feel like the way football is now, everything is spread offense. It's throw, throw, throw. Wide receivers look pretty and everything, run the right routes. But being able to, watch the game film and see you guys as a program and just run the football, use the big uglies to be able to bully people. I just love that.
yeah. It's a lot of fun, and it's something that kids carry with them as a chip on their shoulders. And it goes back to the 2017 season where that was right before we were playing Trinity Catholic, and that was in the pregame speech. Let's run them over. Let's run people over. And at that point, RPOs were more popular,
Mhm.
and we had actually heard a quote out from, I think it was University of Michigan, maybe, about running people. I said, let's run people over. And it was a mentality. The kids had that mentality where we're going to run you over. And I look at the game of football, and when 2005 to 2010, everybody went spread. All these teams are spread teams, and um, we were kind of opposite, and we stayed opposite as the spread kept evolving, the Tony Franklin system, and now more RPOs, and we kind of did the opposite because it's tougher to prepare for. It's tough when everybody went spread to prepare for that because nobody had seen it much before.
Mhm.
Now teams don't see many teams come under center in an I formation, 21 personnel, double tight, and run the ball, and it's tougher to prepare. And it was interesting because I was at a clinic back in March, and Josh McDaniel was talking from the Patriots, and someone asked him, what formation, what basis your offense is on? And he says, really, we look at what other people aren't doing. And I said, well, that's kind of what we've been doing. And I think you contour what you do to the personnel you have, and we've had great running backs, and we've had big offensive linemen that move people. So it's worked out for us. But again, it's that mentality where the kids in their minds,
Mhm.
nobody's going to stop us if we're running the ball.
It's a credit to you, coach, that you didn't fall prey to kind of the pressure of what everyone else is doing, what everyone is zigging. You zag and you stay with what is a strength of Killingly. Big offensive linemen run the football, and just like what you said, the teams that work on and their strength is running the football. That plays well when the conditions are bad. When you hit late November and December, when it's 20 degrees out and it's snowy and cold. I mean, I don't know if you remember or watched the game, but the Ansonia Sheehan game, it was
Yeah.
the conditions were terrible. It was perfect for running the football and not throwing. And that's something that your team can succeed at because you guys are so good at running the football.
Yeah, and we've, this year we were in the playoffs against Waterford, and downpour the same night as the Ansonia Sheen game. And we've had some matchups in the past where, where on paper, going in with the speed advantage and how teams can spread us out, and we were able to run the ball because of that and had success because that's what we do. And I think with running the football, and the spreads are great and guys run it great, and it's a great offense, and if you have the guys to run it,
Mhm.
it's great. But it's also, at the younger levels, them teaching that and that base, I think you can base a lot of stuff off of it. Also, you can mix things up, and we're a no huddle spread running team. We go no huddle. We speed it up, and we want to wear teams down. So when we get to the third and fourth quarter, they're beat up playing defense. So when they go to offense, they're going to be tired also. So it helps, our defense also.
Another thing too I want to ask you is over the years we know that with anything everything evolves. Like we talked about the spread and you sticking to the running game, but also with the players because the players in 2020 are a lot different than what they were in 2010. You mentioned in 2000 when you're the defensive coordinator and so on with Putnam and all that. Just tell me about how you're able to adjust because I know that's the biggest thing with coaching is not just being able to coach on the field, but being able to also adjust to what you have surrounding you with players.
Yeah, and you know, I think society has changed more than kids. The players love being part of a team. They love discipline. They love structure, and that hasn't changed. I think society has changed around them in terms of social media, what they hear. In some cases, it's positive, but in a lot of other cases, it's not. Um, as far as a coaching style, I've always been you know, um, my style is very, I guess, player oriented, where we care about the kids and they know we care about them. And I think that's the important part is if you can get kids to care about what they're doing and care about each other, and the coaches care, you don't want to let your teammates down. You don't want to let your coaches down. And as coaches, you never want to let your players down. And when you get that going, and anybody can, if you care about somebody or you care about what you're doing, you're going to do everything you can to be successful. So, and that aspect hasn't changed much, in the philosophy. I just think everything around kids has changed tremendously, and you got to teach them. It's a teach them how to use social media, how to use it to your advantage, and those are things we work on daily. Even in the off season, when our leadership council is, you know, think before you do.
Yeah, I mean, Herm Edwards, just like what you said, think before you press send. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
said that years ago at a rookie conference where he was talking to all the NFL rookies that were coming into the league,
Yeah.
and I've always said to people who ask me, Twitter could be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
It could help you with recruiting and getting your film out because everybody is trying to get, seen because it's so hard with so many players. It also could be a negative because once you press send, it's on there forever, even after you delete it.
Yeah, and that's true. One of the things I read in Tim and Brian Kite, they do this leadership program, and it's excellent. And they have 11-second pause before you make any big decision or anything like that. Wait for 11 seconds, and that's something that I try to use in my own life, and although difficult sometimes, but I think you gotta, hey, let's not make a decision right off the bat, and prepare for that decision, because, you know, what's going to be the consequence. And,
Hmm.
if you question, should I do it? You probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, if there's any doubt where the little, the devil and the halo
Yeah.
person next to you, if the devil is speaking louder, maybe you probably shouldn't do it.
Mhm. And I think communication is the key too. Kids is learning to communicate, and it's easy for them to send a text message and talk that way. But one of the things we've really worked on our program is communication, face-to-face communication,
Hmm.
and talking amongst the team, and having a leadership council and a group of guys that get together with the team and just talk, because that's something that's lacking too. And the verbal face-to-face communication, looking someone in the eye when you shake their hand and having a good handshake, and those are things as coaches I think you got to teach.
Well, I think handshaking is going to be a little bit maybe out of the norm
Yeah.
for quite a while. And,
Yeah.
this virus, I've asked many coaches that I've had on the show about how this is affected. And this was early when the virus was still, in the early stages in March, April, and so on. But now we're getting towards what, May 27th. It'll be
Mhm.
June before you know it. And, for you, coach, when is it going to get, for real? Like, okay, this virus is now going to start affecting my football program.
Well, it has been. It's something we've talked about as coaches probably for a couple months now. Is,
Mhm.
hey, we can't wait till August, the second week of August, to make a decision here and prepare these kids. And I think it's something we got to be proactive in
Mhm.
and use the research, and not just wait. And what happens if we aren't able to start on time, or we can't play this fall? Is there going to be an option, or to play in the spring, or will the CIAC adjust, next spring and summer, allow sports to go into the summer? These are things that I hope we just don't wait. And as a
Mhm.
coach, you never wait. You don't wait to see what happens. You plan. And any coach will tell you, you prepare. And
Mhm.
I think that's what we're all trying to do, is prepare and plan for the road ahead. This would have been, this week would have been the first couple of weeks of spring football for a lot of high school teams. And this time of year flies by into the season, and not seeing the kids. We're doing Zoom workouts a few times, 3 times a week, and but we unable to get in the weight room. And I just think we just don't know, and that's tough.
I almost feel like whatever idea they come up with, either playing in the spring, playing late into the summer, playing 5 games that I've also heard as well.
Mhm.
I almost feel like whatever is the better of the bad ideas, they're going to go with. But no matter which one, there's going to be, with spring and playing late into the summer, you've got, summer school, or you've got getting ready for college for the seniors that
Mhm.
graduate. You've got other, I don't know about your team in particular, but you've got other kids that play multiple sports like
Yep.
Legion ball and whatnot. So you run into so many roadblocks that it's just that this virus is messing everything up.
It is, and really you feel bad for the kids. It's
Mhm.
the current seniors and those juniors who are going to be seniors, where there's a lot of unknown. But I as we tell our kids, is you've got to plan, because when your number's called and the time is ready, you're going to be ready. And that's what all you can do right now is be ready for when that time comes, to play. And I think hopefully we'll know more in a couple months. And I know everybody's anxiously waiting,
Mhm.
and we all are, to kind of get back to some normal. See, but again, it's not knowing is the most difficult part.
Not giving up so much of the trade secrets. What's the talk about with you and the rest of the coaches that you're in communication with as far as the season and with all this virus stuff going on?
Well, we're planning on starting in the fall, and I know, um, Glenn, Langrini at the CIAC said might not start on time, because we'll see how school gets back in the session and get ready for that. But we're hoping that, come fall, we have that schedule, whether it's a full schedule, a regional type schedule, or a shortened schedule. But you know, regardless, we'll be ready. And there's been talks of looking at possibly playing in the spring, and switching seasons and this and that. But I think right now is we're waiting on what is coming from the governor and what's coming from the Department of Health and so forth. And every district's different. You know, in Northeast Connecticut, we've been lucky. We've been um, fortunate with the number of cases up here. There hasn't been a lot of it. And you know, you go down to Fairfield County, and it's devastating down there. So it's you know, county by county also. So that's tough because you want to be consistent.
No, I agree with you. It's a shame that this is happening because it's ruining so much between graduations and proms for seniors. And I was telling somebody that, one of my friends, that this is not only affecting the seniors this year, it's affecting seniors next year because, because my girlfriend's a teacher and she kind of has the ins as far as knowing with school and such. She was telling me that quite possibly could have, school Monday and Wednesday for one half of the school,
Mhm.
Tuesday, Thursday for another half, and then switch on Fridays. But it's like, I think the entire school year next year is going to be a complete kibosh. It's going to be confusing.
It might be even more difficult, to be honest with you, in
I agree.
terms of how it's arranged, and you know, you feel for the parents, and you
Hmm.
know, childcare, and all these issues that are going to come about of this is again, it's tough. It's the unknown, and
Hmm.
um, you know, as a teacher myself, it's an adjustment, and you're going to keep having to adjust. And I guess as a coach, that's something you're used to, is making those adjustments. And we'll be successful. We'll get through this because we got good people that care about kids, and they're going to make those adjustments, not just in their professional lives, but their personal lives, and get through this.
Coach, I really do appreciate you coming on, and I have faith that you and the rest of the program, and players and staff and such, will get through this. Like I've said earlier in this interview, I really do admire the program, and I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck moving forward.
I appreciate that, Chris. Stay healthy, stay safe, and you know, hopefully this fall you can catch us in person.
I would love to. And hey, you're welcome to come back on because I'll put you down right now for about 10 wins, getting to the championship, and then you better come on before that point.
All right, you got it.
I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.